Hello and welcome back to the 10th episode of the season. Can you believe we're already in the double digits?
It's gone by so fast. We're already past Halloween.
That's right. We've still got some more episodes left before winter break, so here's a preview for today's news.
World of Warcraft shortens its leveling grind to be more accessible to new players.
Amnesia makes a comeback with Amnesia Rebirth.
A Twitch streamer has set up a ring fit to play Zelda Breath of the Wild.
And lastly, we'll go over some of the sales that are happening this Halloween season.
We'll be getting a group game review from Elise, Haley, Jacob, and Josh on Phasmaphobia. We got a cryptic message from Bianca regarding the game, so we'll be tackling the ghosts ahead and leaving no stones unturned to find out what we can.
And then we'll end the episode with a Nintendo analysis from Ruby Hall on the upcoming Fire Emblem.
All of that in today's episode. I'm your host, Sydney Thompson.
And I'm Kristen Lawrence, and I hope you enjoy your stay here on Pixel Peak. World of Warcraft is one of the most popular massive multiplayer online games in the world, boasting a player count of over 4 million. And it will be turning 16 this fall after initially being released in 2004. In that time, there have been a total of 8 expansions added, the newest addition being Shadowlands, which is set to be released soon. In terms of gameplay, many of the standard RPG elements are present. Character creation, which includes picking a race and class, exploring the ever-expanding world, fighting monsters, and completing quests, and even hardcore role-playing realms. Of course, factions are a central feature of the game, which pits players head-to-head. One of the biggest deal breakers for potential new players is the extreme time commitment for leveling your character to the max. Most of the best quests and overall content of the game require the player to be max level, except for the most recent Shadowlands expansion, which has completely reworked the leveling system. What before could be over 120-hour-long grind to the top has now been transformed into a 20-hour-long adventure. Of course, speedrunners have found the most ergonomic way to leveling and have done the process in under 10 hours. Besides inviting in new players, this rework also gives current players a realistic ability to make another character of a different race and class. Then again, it also makes the job easier for the elites to get a max level character in each race and class.
The Amnesia series recently got another edition in Amnesia Rebirth. The first game, The Dark Descent, was released in 2010 as a survival horror game, and is about an amnesiac Daniel who finds himself in Brennenburg Castle and has to avoid monsters and solve physics-based puzzles to survive. Moreover, the player must manage Daniel's sanity level, which can lower by seeing monsters, seeing unsettling events, or even staying in the dark for too long. Consequences of low sanity can include hallucinations, a higher chance of monsters detecting you, or even death on higher difficulty levels. The most characteristic part of the game is the fact that Daniel cannot defend himself, so the player will have to run, hide, or barricade a room from the monsters that come after them. An expansion was released in 2011 by the name of Justine, which follows a different character. Justine is a woman who sets up many tests before taking an amnesiac mixture and sending herself through her own trials. The choices these tests evoke are typically whether to let someone live or die. In 2013, Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs was released as a sequel to the first game. The sanity and inventory mechanics were left out of the game, although the player is still able to move objects around in the world. The story follows Oswald as he is forced into fixing a machine in order to save his children. The game still includes monsters to hide from, which block the way to certain objectives. This brings us to Amnesia Rebirth, which follows the character of Tezzy, a pregnant plane crash survivor stuck in the Algerian desert. While the game mechanics are mostly the same as the previous additions to the series, this edition is the first to not be set inside of a building or structure, leading to the desert sun now being a danger to the player's health. Well-loved physics puzzles and horrifying monsters that hunt the player still remain in the game.
Twitch streamer Super Lewis64 has modded Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to support a Ring Fit controller. With these modifications, he has turned Breath of the Wild into a workout. Lewis is able to match Link's stride on a job through high roll and use squats to open the game's menu. A 60-second video has been made explaining how the mod works. The mod made it so the joystick was locked until the player moved. Example, if you start a jog, it is then inputted on the Joy-Con. It is estimated that using this mod, it would take almost an hour to traverse the entire map of the game. Doing a series of arm swings causes combat slashes. Lewis has even figured out how to make climbing work. I'll be tracking my calorie/weight loss trying to beat the game, Super Lewis 64 said. Most of it will come from diet changes, but running away from electric pieces will certainly help out. Lewis has stated that his mod also works with Dark Souls, Mario Kart 8, and Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Last season, we talked about Dylan Rudism Beck, the streamer who created his own mod suit to play Untitled Goose Game, adding Super Lewis 64 to the list of gamers playing games the wrong way. I wonder what exercise gaming mods we'll see next.
Like most holiday seasons, gamers can expect to find plenty of sales this Halloween. Epic Games is currently running a selection of sales that will continue till November 3rd. You can get 50% off Borderlands 3, 40% off Red Dead Redemption 2, and 70% off Vampire. You can also find smaller games at discounted prices. For example, Stories Untold is now available at $249 and Soma at $299. GameStop is also having a special sale right now for PS4 games. 234 PS4 games are a part of the under $15 sale. Some of these titles are Assassin's Creed, Doom, Alien, Far Cry, Destiny, Bloodborne, Crash Bandicoot, The Witcher, Watch Dogs, The Evil Within, Resident Evil, Ghost Recon, and many more. Select PS4 titles are also for sale for $5 for a limited time. These games are Fallout 76, Final Fantasy 15, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, and For Honor. The Halloween sales will continue till November 2nd, and the under $15 sale will last until October 29th.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, so ghostwriting.
Yeah.
Phasmaphobia is a horror game which you can play with up to 3 of your friends. It is all about identifying and hunting ghosts, which is done in a very modernized approach. It was released to Steam on September 18th this year, just on PC. It took the gaming community by storm, however, which is evident as the game has nearly 40,000 positive reviews and can have upwards of 70,000 players simultaneously. The game even has VR compatibility, which enhances the horror thrill of the game. When it comes to ghosts, there are 12 different types that you can encounter on each map. Although the main differences come in whether they are more or less violent and whether they attack players on their own or if they take groups head on, identifying the ghost type is the player's main goal each match.
Alright boys, guys, it's a shade.
What?
It's a shade.
Okay. First, you'll need to identify where a ghost primarily resides in a building, as this is the best way to determine what kind it is or to confront it. You can do this by finding cold temperatures or having dirty water come out of a faucet. After that, you can use 6 pieces of different equipment to check for different activities. Each ghost will react to 3 of them in a unique combination. This can be reacting to a ghost box, causing an EMF level of 5, showing ghost orbs in a camera, leaving fingerprints on doors, causing sub-zero temperatures, or even writing a message in a special book. Once you find which of these 3 items the ghost reacts to, you can successfully identify the ghost in question.
Oh. It's a 5. It's a shade.
Guys, it's a shade.
As fun as the game can be to play with friends, it is pretty crushing to play solo. For one, the grind to unlock and buy better equipment is much longer. Instead of spreading these costs between 4 players, you have to buy everything yourself. Besides that, being alone means you'll have to carry more equipment, monitor the ghost, and fend it off all by yourself. It is still possible, as each match will bring you farther by leveling up to unlock equipment and gaining money to buy them. Unfortunately, to play in the most efficient way, you may have to leave a teammate in your van. There they will have access to camera feeds, charts monitoring the ghost activity, floor plans which track your teammates, as well as their sanity meters. An additional gameplay mechanic is brought to the game through voice recognition. By saying the ghost's name, or saying almost any swear word, the ghost can be provoked, which results in paranormal activity spiking, or the ghost hunting you and your teammates. Unfortunately, it is unclear how effective this vocal recognition is, which can lead to you and your friends barraging swears for minutes on end without many results.
What's the name of the ghost?
P. Davis? right?
Pete Davis.
Is
Yeah,
that
I think you're right. I think that's right. Something Davis.
You went down here already?
It seems as though the endgame is the biggest flaw of the game. After your first few scares, the game seems to become more of a backdrop to goop off with your friends rather than a game to truly frighten you. As you reach the larger maps, it is confusing to understand why the maps are so large. The ghost seems to stay in one place, so you might spend half a game just wandering around without much happening. Both the asylum and high school are maps with great ambient anxiety attached to them. It just seems as though the extra space is wasted. I anticipate the developers adding new AI to the ghosts, or more overall content to make the later stages of the game more fun and maintain the replayability. But it is something we will have to wait for. Lastly, there are some bugs that are in the process of being fixed. Included are glitches where certain players in the game chat will not work as well as the general lobby, or game crashes, which can really halt the fun of the game while everyone restarts their game.
I mean, it only lasts for like 30
Wow, nice job.
So do we just abandon her?
Yes.
Overall, this is a great game with huge potential to be a classic co-op horror game. With some tweaks and extra content, it will be a game to come back to time and time again. The current mechanics of identifying types of ghosts are satisfying, and the ambient effects can truly set someone on edge and make being alone a horrifying prospect. I'm interested in seeing where this game goes.
Nintendo recently announced a 30th anniversary box set release for Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. Originally released in 1990, they're now being released in the United States for the first time ever on December 4th. And with that being said, we'll be looking into our Nintendo specialist for this week's analysis, Ruby Hall. Thanks for joining me, Ruby.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
Awesome, it's always good to see you. But if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and hop right into our questions today.
Let's jump right into it.
Awesome. So, beloved Smash fighters Marth and Roy were first introduced to the masses in Smash Melee. For fans who don't know much about the characters, this game tells Marth's story. Is that correct?
So this game is the original Fire Emblem game. It came out back in 1990 on the Famicom, only in Japan. Looking back on how these characters were introduced in Smash, it is kind of weird because Western audiences have never seen Marth before. But Western audiences have seen Roy before when it came out because there were some Fire Emblem games on the Game Boy Advance that Western audiences got. But Western audiences never saw this original Fire Emblem game that came with Marth, so it must have been kind of awkward to see Marth saying like, who the heck is this? So it's really cool that we're finally getting this game localized by Nintendo.
Absolutely. So with the game just costing $5.99 alone, what are the benefits from buying the box set, which is just another additional $45?
So if you pay $5.99 for the game, you get just the game download onto your Switch. But getting the box set comes with some extras. It's definitely made for collectors, especially collectors who like seeing older collector items. This really comes in that style. For example, it comes with an art book. It's filled with that 90s style anime art. And it comes with a replica NES cartridge box manual. So if you have an NES collection, but they're not releasing a working NES cartridge, it still comes with the whole box. You can have it on your shelf, have it look really cool. So if you're into collecting that older kind of collector stuff, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, definitely. But with all this talk of new additions that you get from a box set and physical things, but what are some new features of the game itself that are being added to the quality of the life itself?
So the biggest thing here are save states and rewinds, as well as some past forwarding. So these older kind of games were definitely built different. They had some higher amount of difficulty. So bringing in the save states and the rewinds really makes it more accessible to the average modern gamer today. Because usually that difficulty level is a bit higher, and this can really help out, giving you a chance to redo a past action that might lead to one of your units dying. The other quality of life thing they brought in is fast forwarding. In case the game's a little bit too slow paced, you can kind of speed through some things and get through the action just a little bit faster.
Absolutely. So my next question for you is, what do you think of the decision to make this release available only for a limited time?
So I think it's a really weird decision. Nintendo did this earlier this year with Super Mario 35 when they released that about a month ago. Having it only available for a limited time, I think, really hurts accessibility, because there are going to be some people out there who want to play this game, but they will not be able to because they might be priced out right now. We're currently in a time where money's tight for a lot of people, and having this only accessible for when, for example, someone cannot buy it and that it's no longer able to be purchased, and then this person cannot play this game. So there will be people left out, and it just really feels bad, like, just to think that someone won't be able to play their favorite game. Nintendo kind of also did this way in the past when they first released Amiibos. It kind of came with that artificial scarcity where they'd only put so many out into the wild to make them seem a little bit more rare, to give people that urgency to buy them more often. So I can see how that's advantageous to Nintendo, but overall I think it really hurts accessibility and just the average customer who wants to play these games.
Yeah, but for sure, the game was originally released for the NES. Members of the Nintendo Switch Online community pay $5 a month for an access to a library of over 70 classic NES games. This game will not be included in the library that fans with the membership, so where they must dish out extra cash to pay. How do you think they feel about this?
So it's definitely kind of weird that re-releasing this NES game on the Switch isn't going to be a part of the rest of the NES collection already on the Switch. I can definitely see how they justify it, because Nintendo does have to put in work to translate the entire game, put in those extra features, and plan this whole release. However, it just feels kind of bad, especially like how I said at the last point. Money can be kind of tight with some people, and some people just won't be able to play this, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. But my last question for you today is, with a reboot like this, are you hopeful that other old titles will come back? And if so, which ones would you like to see?
So the number one thing that makes me more hopeful is seeing a Western release for Mother 3. Mother 3 is a sequel to Earthbound that only came out in Japan. However, it's usually regarded as one of the best games of the series, and sometimes even regarded as one of the best games ever made. But unfortunately, it just hasn't gotten a Western release because Earthbound's initial release in America kind of flopped. But I can kind of see that because Nintendo, I can kind of see them re-releasing it to the West because Nintendo sees that Fire Emblem has become really popular in the United States. So that's what encouraged them to make this remake and translate it into English for Western audiences. So maybe hopefully they'll give the same treatment to Mother 3. I'd love to see it personally. I think a lot of other people would like to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today, Ruby. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always great to see you in the studio. I can't wait to see you again. But that's going to be it for this week's analysis, and we're going to send it back to Sydney and Christian to wrap up this week's episode of the news.
That's it for today's episode, and it seems like we're all set up for the string of November releases to come out.
Yep, you guys won't want to miss upcoming episodes, so make sure to follow the Pixel Peak App TV account on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
That way you won't miss new episodes coming out every Monday at noon. You can find them on watchapptv.com, Skybest Channels 20 and 1020, Spectrum Channel 198, and on App State's Campus Television Channel 23.3.
And of course, we have our incredible crew to thank for another great episode. Thanks to writers Rebecca Larson and Josh Beal, Nintendo Analyst Ruby Hall, and producers Nick Corbin, Elise Taylor, Haley Cipher, and Jacob Barber for another week of impeccable gaming industry content.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed your stay here on Pixel Peak.